Welcome to The Soul Space, the podcast that inspires you to discover your truth, ignite your passion, and align your life with the power of who you really are. I'm Georgia Rose Psychic Astrologer. I share the cosmic roadmap that guided me through astrology, tarot, and inner knowing into authentic living. I'm here to help you decode your soul's cosmic story, reconnect with your passion, and create the life you are meant to live. It all starts within, and it all starts now in the soul space. Hey, everybody. How are you all doing tonight? It is the first day of Mercury retrograde. Wonder if you guys are feeling it out there. I am Georgia Rose, and I am your psychic astrologer. Welcome to the soul space. I am here every Monday night at 7 o'clock and welcoming all of you. So if you like what you hear and some of this stuff is valuable to you, hopefully you'll share the show, help us get subscribers. And yeah, we'll be live here every Monday at 7 o'clock, like I've been for a while now. So tonight we're going to talk about retrogrades because we've got 5 planets in retrograde. And I know you all are feeling kind of funky. We also had a huge solar flare today, a solar flare that hit the earth. People are predicting that we're going to have some earthquakes around Japan or something like that if they haven't happened already. But a lot of energy out there, and we're going to talk about it tonight. So I'd love it if you guys would share the show or comment live. I've got Trisha and Sarah in so far. Going to give you guys a few minutes to pile in. And remember, if you missed the live show, you can always hear the replays on YouTube, either on Zencuda, which is my personal channel, or on Strong Island Television. And you can also catch the podcast any place, anytime, on Apple, on Spotify, on Amazon Alexa, you name it, we're out there. So there's never any reason to miss a show. So I hope you all will share and join me and all of those great things. So let's dive right in. So you guys know, I always like to start the show with a little bit of comedy because Lord knows the cosmos have been very serious. So here we are with this week's Cosmic Comedy. It's time for Cosmic Comedy, where Mercury retrograde is the main character, the lunations are loony, and the stars are a punchline.
Guys, I knew it. I'm not crazy. You're not crazy. It's Mercury. Like, it's definitely Mercury. Because let me tell you, every single time I feel like something is going on with me, it's because Mercury's in the microwave. Mercury is in the microwave, and that is why you're feeling weird. Because every single time this happens to me, when I start feeling funny, I forget stuff, I start getting irritable. One of my friends, you know the girls that do the astronomical girlies, one of my friends like that, she told me, Amir, the reason you're feeling funny is because Mercury's in the microwave. She tells me Mercury's in the microwave. And I knew it. I said, I knew it. Girl, I knew Mercury's in the microwave because why else am I feeling like this? Guys, it's not your fault. If you're feeling crazy, if you're feeling like something is off, it's literally not even your fault. It's because of the planets. It's Mercury. Mercury's in the microwave. So don't even blame yourself.
So I'm an astronomical girly and Mercury's in the microwave. I just thought that was so funny. I still was laughing at it this time. That's about the 5th time I've seen it. Must just be my strange sense of humor. But it definitely feels like we're in a microwave. It feels like we're in this pressure cooker right now. Really some strange times going on. But at any rate, let's get diving right into the retrogrades. We've got 5 of them happening right now. I'm just going back to my YouTube so I can see any comments. And please comment live. Let me know you're here. I would love to know. Hey, everybody. Joanne Garfey's on as well. Yeah, so we've got 5 planets in retrograde. And also this week now with Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, we've got a lot of Sagittarius energy out there. So what is Sagittarius energy all about? Well, it's about the truth. And Sag energy reveals a lot of things. So that, I'm a Sagittarius rising, so there's a lot of things happening on my ascendant right now. And when we have planets transiting our ascendant or our first house, a lot of times it will have things to do with our personality, our appearance. But in Sagittarius, it's going to be our belief systems. So if you have a copy of your personal chart, or maybe you've done a private reading with me, which you can always book at zencuda.com, and you can look in that chart and see, first of all, where is Sagittarius? That's going to be the symbol with the archer or the arrow, and find out what house that is for you. because that's where a lot of the truths will be revealed, as Mercury retrograde is in that sign. We've also got Mars in the sign of Sagittarius right now. And Mars in Sagittarius is an energy that can make us want to be a lot more social. Sagittarius like to party and are usually the life of the party. They have like very outward going personalities. But with Mars there, it's also going to make us really seek the truth. And Mercury in Sagittarius being retrograde is going to go back into Scorpio. And Scorpio is also a sign that makes us want to seek the truth, makes us want to, go places where we haven't been before, in the sense of we dive deep, we become the detective, we want to know. So that's going to be very prominent this month coming up. And what I will say is that with Mercury in retrograde in Sagittarius, the past will repeat as usual with Mercury, but it's in a sign now ruled by Jupiter. So it's going to make that even more so. So you will find the past coming back in. And the themes of the past we're going to go into a little bit deeper in the show. But the first thing I want to say regarding Mercury retrograde this time around, which Mercury will be retrograde from, I'm just looking, from today. It was actually yesterday. It was late in the evening yesterday on the 9th until the November 29th. But it actually goes and it egresses back into Scorpio on November 18th. So for about the last 10 days of this month, Mercury is going to go back into Scorpio. That'll bring back the energy of when Mercury was originally in Scorpio, which would have been most of October. So think about it, something that you have incomplete or that hasn't actually grooved yet for you, or you haven't been able to move forward with, that was really prominent over the month of September, October. Now, once Mercury goes direct the end of November, those projects will really move forward for you. So I was talking to my friend Delia today, and she was saying how she feels sometimes almost like she's kind of stuck in mud and can't move forward. With Mercury retrograde, that might be a little bit heightened for a while, but once it goes direct on the 29th of this month, things will lighten up and loosen up. So if you're in the middle of some kind of a project that's not moving forward, don't get too frustrated about it. I guarantee it will move forward in another couple of weeks once we're past November 29th. So that's the Mercury retrograde story. It's amplified because Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, where Mercury is, and Jupiter expands everything. So with Jupiter expanding the energy of Mercury retrograde and Mars in Sagittarius, it's going to make us really want to dig deep for the truth. It's going to make us reevaluate our own belief systems and our own truths. And Sagittarius is an energy that is the truth seeker and the believer. The belief systems will really be coming into question now. So just, let that sink in a little bit. Next planet that is retrograde right now is Uranus. And Uranus just went into Gemini this past year. It actually went in July of 2025, just went into Gemini. It only went into the first couple of degrees of Gemini, and now it's retrograded back into Taurus. This is going to bring back a lot of our past. When Uranus was in Taurus from May of 2018 until July 25th. So think about what was going on for those years for you regarding Uranus, which is the planet of sudden, shocking change. So for instance, that is in my sixth house, which is our everyday routine, our work, etc. And between 2018 and 2025, I switched jobs. I closed a business. I worked for one company in one capacity and then another. I had a lot of changes that were sudden and shocking going on with my everyday work routine. And it's also in the sixth house can be health, which for me, I had a very bad injury, which flared up today for me. If anyone saw me today, I'm kind of walking with a limp. And sometimes that will repeat. And I was laughing because it's so funny that that injury has come up really profoundly the last few days, right when Uranus went back into Taurus, into my sixth house of health. And those are injuries that I sustained during that time frame when Uranus was originally there. So think about May 2018 to now. What was the theme in your life? Maybe if you have your chart and you look at where Taurus energy is, that'll give you a clue, like mine is the sixth house. But all of those years where Uranus was in retrograde, basically what the theme was, is how do we self-preserve? How do we self-protect? What changed the way we relate to our survival need? How has, from 2018 to 2025, July, what were we working on in our life that had to do with that survival need? And where did we start to make a switch from other people's values of what survival is to our own value of what survival is and our own value and our own survival needs? And those were really the themes. Uranus in Taurus is earthly reckonings. That's why a lot of the astrologers out there are saying we're going to have some earthquakes and some, seismic type things, volcanic things go on, because with Uranus in Taurus, it's a lot of earth. It can also be food and food supplies. But it's also financial markets and finances, financial patterns. So what will not surprise me is if the stock market reverts to where it was in those years, or maybe from before July of 2025, we have a reversal and then a little bit more of a correction. So Sherry is on and she's asking, what does retrograde actually mean? So when a planet retrogrades, it doesn't mean that it actually goes backwards, because planets never go backwards. What it means is that it's a motion. It's an action. The planet will slow down based on the Earth's gravitational pull and the gravitational pull of that planet. It will slow down at times. Usually when a planet slows down and goes retrograde, it amplifies the energy and the archetype of that planet. Like Mercury, when it's retrograde, which is communication, becomes amplified. And many times we'll have communication or computer glitches. And that's because Mercury is so close to the Earth and moving slowly. So it will heighten those type of things. When Uranus is retrograde, it's going to heighten our where we self-preserve and where we go into survival mode in our lives. So if you think about, if you've ever been on a train or even a plane at the airport and you're sitting by the window, or a car when it pulls into a parking space and the vehicle next to you starts moving backwards, all of a sudden you get jolted and you feel like you're moving strangely as well, or you're moving backwards a little bit. It's a retrograde motion. That's a retrograde motion, when something makes you feel literally like it's being pulled backwards. So because of the gravitational pull of the Earth, a planet will start to move slower because of a retrograde motion. And it can feel like it's backwards. And that's why we think that, but it's not. It's just moving slower as compared to its regular orbital speed. So what will happen when a planet goes retrograde and it's slow, but all the other planets are still moving forward at roughly the same rate, or the Earth at least is moving forward, is that planet will pass over a degree in the zodiac 3 times, because it stations and it starts to move slow and everything's going to pass it, right? And then it starts to move directly again and it goes over the same area again. And the Earth is still moving. So it makes that pass 3 times in a spot. And that's why when something goes retrograde, we always look at where it went retrograde. Like right now, Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius is starting at 6 degrees of the sign. So we know it's going to pass by that degree again. So what's happening right now is going to happen again when the planet goes direct. And if you follow those degrees, you'll be able to predict exactly what's going to happen. And that's why the old saying, things happen in threes, is so popular. It has to do with retrogrades. So when a planet is retrograde, it's not moving backwards, it's just moving slower. But because the Earth is still moving forward, it seems to go backwards, just like when you pull into a parking lot and someone's backing out. Retrogrades are times when, because the planets are more heightened and more amplified, they're closer to the Earth, they're moving slower. So, the juju that we get for them is much more heightened. So because of that, it makes us feel the planet more. It symbolically will retrace our steps, which also is going to amplify whatever happened if we're doing do-overs. So retrogrades, think of anything to do with the prefix RE. It can be a redo, a reset, a revisit, reflection, reevaluation, remember. When we have planets that are retrograde natally in our chart, like I have a natal Mercury retrograde, which means on the day I was born, Mercury was retrograde. A lot of people have Pluto retrograde because on the day they were born, Pluto was retrograde, or Mars is retrograde because on the day they were born, Mars was retrograde. So it will be in their natal chart. So in that sense, retrograde planets in the natal chart will mean that that person has to remember something. There's a memory field that's very symbolic of the time frame when that planet was retrograde to now. So for instance, the last time Mercury was retrograde in Sagittarius may hold something for you that you were busy doing. And now that it's gone back full circle to there, that thing will move forward. And that's why the planets and the stars are very interesting. And that's why sometimes we can use them as a divination tool. Because when we look at the calendar of where the planets are headed and where they've been, it shows us what energy is going to be repeated. And that's why I say with Uranus and Taurus, which is all about financial markets, survival, food, anything to do with the earth, if it's going back to where it was between 2018 to 2025, we have a pretty good idea that those things will repeat that energy. So that's how you do retrogrades in the chart. And also, like I'm a realtor by day, right? And so sometimes I'll put together a deal. Like if I wrote a contract today, say, they'll have glitches because it's Mercury retrograde. But I know even if the buyer and seller drag their feet about signing that contract, as soon as Mercury goes direct, contract's going to get signed. And I don't worry about it because I know Mercury has to go direct in order for it to happen. Today, I actually traded in my car and bought a new one. And I waited for just the right time and just the right deal. And as I'm signing the papers, I'm like, oh shit, today's Mercury retrograde and the first day of it, and it's right on my ascendant. But I thought to myself, well, I looked everything over and the only thing that could possibly happen is the car's a lemon, which I don't think it is. It's a beautiful car. But the funny thing is, after I did everything and they handed me the keys, this person, very nice person, Jonathan, comes out and he said, hi, I'm the person who's going to sit in the car with you and show you where everything is. And, everything's electronic, everything, including they don't even barely they give you like one key now because they give you, everything's on the phone. You can start your car with your phone, everything. And so we sat and I thought, I'm about to do a bunch of electronic stuff with Mercury retrograde. And sure enough, what should have probably taken about 10 minutes took an hour because it would not work and not go through. My phone wouldn't pair and all these things. So I turned to this young, beautiful man, Jonathan, and I said, it's Mercury retrograde. And he said, oh, that's what it is. See, so young people really get it. So really interesting stuff. Hi, Aaron. Welcome aboard. Aaron will be glad to know I bought a new car today. Aaron just got a great new car as well about a month ago. So we have to really be proud of ourselves and our accomplishments sometimes, even though it is materialistic. It's always good to reward oneself, right, Aaron? So Uranus going retrograde, wherever it is in your chart, it's going into Taurus, can be a reckoning. It's not a bad thing. It's those years from 2018 to 2025 when we were working on survival and certain survival modes were coming out and we knew what we were doing in the sense of complexes that maybe were too self-defensive or maybe, regarding boundaries, we didn't set enough boundaries during that time period. Now, when it comes back over those areas, we have all the wisdom from those years. So when a retrograde happens, many times it's really about learning from the experience, and then the experience will repeat, but we're different. We're a different person. We have a lot more wisdom and insight now to whatever the challenge is. So it comes back around so we can really make the best of it. So think about, those years and what was happening then. And I hope, Sherry, that answers all your questions about retrograde. She's saying it's very interesting. Thank you. Love how you explain everything to us. We understand. Well, I hope so. If ever you don't, just put it in the comments or call the show because I'm here to help you guys all understand this energy. So moving along. So that was Mercury retrograde in Sag. And that's going to be till November 29th. Uranus goes back to Taurus until next year, which I believe is February of 2026. And it will go direct then. So that's a beautiful thing. We got a few months now to wrap up in a beautiful, nice, neat little bow. All the things Uranus and Taurus taught us about survival over those years. And then the next planets, of course, are Neptune and Saturn have both retrograded to Pisces. Now, Saturn is going to go direct very quickly in the next, probably, I think, few days or a week or so. But Neptune was in Pisces for a very long time, and it just recently went back into Pisces for us once again to clean up, to remember, to reevaluate, to redo, to retry, to rethink. All those are E words. So Neptune was in Pisces since 2011 until March of this year, 2025. When Neptune and when Neptune was retrograde, when Neptune was in Pisces, it's retrograde in Pisces now. But when Neptune was in Pisces, it was all about spiritual contracts. It was all about our connection to a source, our connection to one. It's very much about healing ancestral wounds, and dissolving illusions that we've inherited. And I can attest to those years for me, 2011 to 2025, being absolutely those things, in big, big ways. Neptune in Pisces for me in my chart is my third house. It passes over my IC, and that's all family stuff. So for you, look and see where Pisces is in your chart. If you're a Pisces sun, this will definitely be more amplified for you. If you're a Pisces moon, you're going to feel very emotional with Neptune going back into Pisces. But those challenges that Neptune in Pisces was giving us, it was making us very emotional and building up our spiritual memory, revealing karmic imprints. This is a time when you want to honor your spiritual boundaries. Maybe ask yourself, what illusions am I ready to dissolve? Because Pisces is an energy of decay and dissolve. Pisces is being out of bounds. Where are we boundless? Where do we need more boundaries? Saturn now in Pisces is helping us understand that, putting the framework to our imagination so that we can actually dream it into reality. But when Neptune is in Pisces, it's really karmic. It brings up all those karmic things that we thought were just life. We thought, oh, this is just life, or this is just this relationship. But once we see that this is related to spirituality and related in some way to karma and past ancestral healing, it changes things. And so a real world example of, Pisces energy, and with Neptune there, Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, so it's at home and amplified there, is that's this resurgence of ancestral healing that we've had since 2011. I mean, how many people are now Reiki healers? And Reiki is done in a hospital and is accepted. And we have no illusions anymore about collective grief, especially after certain tragedies that happened, just what happened in Israel over the last couple of years, and Ukrainian war and things. And so now we know there is such a thing as collective grief and ancestral grief. They actually did studies with children from the Holocaust, not children who were in the Holocaust, but children, who maybe grew up in the 50s from parents who were in the Holocaust. And they also did studies of children whose parents were in 9/11. And there's a certain chemical in the blood of the body when you have had PTSD or great spiritual tragedy or shock in your life. It's in your DNA. And they did these tests on children who were born from parents who were in these kind of trauma-related incidences. And the children have the DNA of the trauma. So ancestral trauma is real, and we know that now. And there's so many healing modalities that work with that. And maybe in 2010, before Neptune went into Pisces, we really weren't open to that. And now there are so many books about it, and it's so strong. So it's very prominent. And Joanna says she has a Pisces moon, and that serves her well, because with your Pisces moon, it's probably easy for you to connect to other realms. And I know that you are, a very strong spirit. So you probably go right into a meditation. You can fly with the angels, so to speak. So the thing to think about from whatever we were going through between 2011 and now, with Neptune going back into that area of our charts, just for us to have a little window so we can look at it and say, oh yeah, that's what that was about. Well, I'll never do that again. Or, boy, I've learned now how to really navigate that. Or I have a much stronger faith now in angels or in source or God or whatever it is. That would have been your Pisces years and your Neptune in Pisces years. So the soul insights are you honoring your spiritual boundaries? Neptune will return to Pisces to make sure that we have the discipline and devotion to work our spiritual muscle. And it's so important in the world that we live in now. We can't complain that the world is soulless and not work on our own soul space. That would be quite hypocritical and quite awful, actually. We're here to work on the soul. We're here to work on the soul space. So ask yourself, are you honoring your spirit? Are you honoring your spiritual boundaries? Are you staying in the integrity of your spiritual work? And I don't mean spiritual work like you have to go out and be a healer or an astrologer or a reader. I mean the spiritual work we do on our own souls every day. We close the front door and we come home and we configure ourselves through the world that we live in and the past that we have. And so one of the things that you may want to ask yourself in this energy, because Neptune is going to ask for surrender. Neptune is going to ask for, especially in Pisces back in there, is going to ask for us to do the soul work where we have to go back and realize the wound and what it has sourced in our life and how it has ruled relationships, situations, and decisions. So the reflections to ask ourselves are, what spiritual lessons keep repeating? Because those are the ones that are going to keep repeating till we close the front door and do the soul work. What boundary do you need to reinforce or release? Are we too rigid in some area? I know for me, sometimes I don't always let people in. That comes from having a mom who was extremely fearful of everything. And so it translated for me as to being too watchful at times. And so I think that's the releasing and reinforcing part. And so Neptune in Pisces is a beautiful energy. It can be a hard energy. It can bring grief up. It can bring a lot of things up. But it's a beautiful energy because the point of the decay, the point of waking up one day and saying, wow, I've been doing this my whole life and it no longer serves me. The point of all that is to make us return to source and what our true spirit is about. And so Saturn now is in Pisces, which is a beautiful gift for us because it's going to go back into Aries where it started to be this year. But Saturn was in Pisces from March of 23 to May of 25. And now it went back there for a little while, it skipped into Aries, and now it's back in Pisces. That is to give us the framework of our spirituality, the discipline, the routine, the structure, the foundation. So we know this is what my belief system is, and this is how I can activate it to be real in my life. I'm not just going to float with the angels. This is going to be something real that brings me to an evolution so I can evolve something. So I'm just going to go to a few questions. So Joanne's Pisces moon. Whenever we have a Pisces moon, it makes us able, because the moon is our identity and our emotions. So that would make Joanne an extremely compassionate person. And it would also make it very easy for her to go into a meditation or any kind of other realm work, psychic ability, those kind of things, because Pisces and Neptune are unbound. It means that there's no boundary. So when you will find a lot of gurus have Pisces energy of some kind for that reason. However, if there's not something in the chart that grounds it, they can just fly out into the ethers and make no sense and just be in the ethers. So I'm sure that there's something very grounding in Joanne's chart because she's a very gifted psychic and spiritual person. So Sarah said she's born in Mars and Aquarius in retrograde, Neptune, Sagittarius in retrograde. So if you have Mars retrograde, sometimes it can be from a past life that you allowed people to determine your course of action. And in this life, your challenge will be asserting yourself for what you really want to do. It's very easy for you to be mutable, especially with a Mars retrograde, to other people's whims. And so it's very important for you in this life to stand up and do the things and take action for what you really want and what truly is right for you. The Neptune retrograde, it's in a fire sign, Sagittarius, so that's good. It brings spiritual fire to you. Like you will be very ambitious is the word I want to say, or very passionate is the word I want to use, actually. You'll be very passionate about your spiritual and your beliefs, your spirituality. Retrograde Neptune means that in a past life, more than likely, you had your belief systems either suppressed or you were overzealous about your belief systems and, forced people to believe the way you believed. So in this lifetime, Neptune is showing the retrograde because it's important for you to rebalance the Neptune energy of your spiritual fire and not trying to convert people to your way of thinking, but also not diminishing and diluting your way of thinking for others. So that's what that would mean. And especially with the Mars in Aquarius, Sarah, you are here to be uniquely you, embrace your uniqueness, celebrate it, and really love it. Like, love yourself for the unique person you are. If you want to dress like a purple dinosaur, dress like a purple dinosaur and be damned with everyone else. Trisha saying, oh boy, exactly what she's doing right now. It's that Pisces energy. It's a killer. Aaron's, what about Mars in Pisces? So Mars in Pisces, again, Mars will be, you are a spiritual gangster, Mars is our aggression. It can also be our assertion. So in Pisces, that can sometimes be you go out of bounds. Like you get really aggressive or you're really ambitious, which you need to channel for the good. You need to make sure that it is all that beautiful fire of Mars in a water sign can make you just float out into the ethers or become out of bounds in the sense of a temper. Like Mars in Pisces can almost have no boundary and say and do whatever the hell he wants and then regret it. So in Pisces, the real highest octave of Mars in Pisces is the spiritual warrior. It's using all of your aggression to assert yourself in the spiritual realm and right action. And when you harness that in the right way, you will be a leader for spiritual things, whether it's reading tarot or Reiki or just, people will come up to you and see your light and you'll talk to them and change their life. Mars in Pisces can be extremely strong, but it can also be someone who is out of bounds and out of control. Mars in Pisces Pisces is an energy of addiction because it's boundless. It has no boundaries. So a lot of times an unevolved Pisces energy will be an addiction or an obsession. Mars there especially means that you can go into the dark side of addiction very easily, and you've got to pull yourself back to be tempered. But it also depends on what else is in your sign. Like I know you're on your chart. Like I know, Aaron, you have that Aries energy, which pulls you back and rights you up because Aries is the ram. It charges in and wants to be productive all the time. It's fire. So Tricia says the pain is worth the understanding, the recognition of connection. Absolutely. And once we learn lessons that are this deep, we never have to learn them again because we know now, And one of the greatest things I've learned is it's helped me so much not to be judgmental or feel grief for people that don't think like we think or think like in a higher level. I don't want to say that in an arrogant way. I just mean, like, to put it bluntly, what I always say to myself is they just haven't learned the lesson I already know. And then I send them love that they learn it because it's a beautiful thing that's happened in my life. And I will say it till my last breath. In this lifetime, I'm a walking miracle. If you really knew my story, the fact that I can still go out in the world and my heart is so open and still wants to love and be love and help people and just be nice and kind. To me, that's a miracle because it really could have gone the other way. I mean, it really could have gone the other way. So I just feel blessed to be just even living the life I live. Joanne says she's been out there and boy, was that a trip. Yeah, when you fly with the angels, right? But God, you could go either way with a Pisces moon. Then when I finally came down to earth, it was a shock. And then the balancing began. That's always the way. It's like this big pendulum that we got to swing all the way to one side, then the other. Very much like me, because when I was younger, I was not an easy learner. It's like if I got poked or tapped from God, it didn't really work. God had to slam me down in order for me to be like, oh, wait, something's here, So funny stuff. Sarah says that definitely sounds familiar. Absolutely. And Sherry has Saturn in Pisces and Chiron in Pisces. So your healing, Chiron, we're going to get to that planet next, is all about healing the wounds that we come into this lifetime with. And with your energy in Pisces, in Saturn and Chiron in Pisces, you will find your healing through structure and foundation, but you have to have a spiritual backing. So it's basically bringing structure to your life, laying your foundation, but always knowing there's a power higher than you. And Joanne says that was back in the mid to late 80s when I was traveling doing my spiritual work. Great experience, and I'm so grateful for it. Thank you. Yeah, I got to say, I've been to hell and back, literally. I have been in the hell realms. I have been in the underworld, and it was actually, there's a lot of beauty in repulsive things. And it changed my life for the better. You know, if you can come back up the stairs from the hell realms and be grateful for everything in your life, you're in a really good place. Sherry says you're a blessing to all of us. No, you are a blessing, Sherry. Everybody on here is a blessing to me tonight. And Trisha says I'm doomed with my sun in, I can't read, in Pisces, Mercury, Jupiter, and Chiron in Pisces. Laugh out loud. You're not doomed. That's great spiritual energy. It's a lot of water. And, you know, the other thing is when we really learn our chart, the beautiful thing about it is it's a lot of forgiveness happens. Like when I first went to an astrologer many, many years ago before I learned astrology, and they read my chart for me, the first thing that came to my mind was, wow, this isn't my fault. Like I was put here to learn this. I was put here to have this challenge so I could come out the other side of it. And so that's a really beautiful thing when you let yourself off the hook. Like with that many planets in Pisces, you're always going to be an emotional person. And so what? You're here to be emotional. And that's a beautiful thing. It's when we surround ourselves with people who judge us and criticize us for those things that are naturally intrinsic to our soul that we have issues. So embrace yourself, whatever it is. There's no bad in astrology. There's not. There's just knowledge that gives us the weather report. It's like when we have a bad snowstorm, you know, some dogs love it, right? And maybe we want to go outside and build a snowman and have the best time of our life and then come in and have hot cocoa. So there's never anything that's totally unpleasant. So the next thing I wanted to talk about really briefly, because we're going to run out of time, is Chiron being retrograde. And so Chiron being retrograde is old wounds will surface around self-expression. So one of the things I tell people, especially when we have this many planets retrograde, is, and I know Trisha's going to be laughing at me now. One of the things I say is, do not change your appearance. Don't get the haircut. Don't get the tattoo. Don't rearrange your living rooms. Don't get cosmetic surgery. You will hate it. It's just the way it is when Mercury is retrograde. I need to buy some new furniture for my house, and I'm not doing it until after the 29th of November. So when Mercury goes, because I know I will go out and buy couches and I will hate them for the rest of my life. As a matter of fact, earlier in the year when Mercury was retrograde, I did pick out 2 couches and they delivered them and they took the wrapping off it and I made them take it back because it was just a shade of color that I knew was a little off for the room. So don't do anything too crazy when we have this many planets in retrograde. So with Chiron in retrograde, old wounds are going to surface around self-expression. Replays of moments when we felt powerless. And the reason why that will happen is because we have to go into our powerlessness, that humility, in order to find our strength. And I know that sounds weird and counterproductive, but it's really, really true. When we go into that dark place and we have to admit and feel the grief of all those things, that all that stuff that when we felt powerless, it makes us aware of how we can feel powerful and what we need to do. It also is opportunities to lead from healed strength. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like once we realize where we were powerlessness and the things that took away our power, now we understand the road to the power. And so we heal with strength. And memory fields are really going to be activated in this energy. In the Chiron energy, it's the warrior wound. It's the identity and selfhood. You know, so a lot of childhood wounds will come out in this energy. But basically tying all this together is all of these retrogrades are going to bring a reckoning of the past because it's going to bring in all these memory fields. And it's a lot of different things, but you'll see that there's going to be a red thread of theme running through all of them. And so, but if you bought your bed before retrograde, it's probably going to be fine. You're going to love your new bed. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, you're fine. And Aaron says he has a Capricorn stellium, but that's what grounds you, Aaron, because of that Pisces energy. That's what grounds you. It's good for you to have that Capricorn stellium as your driver. So tying all this together, the reckoning is of the past. These 5 retrogrades are not random. Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, Mercury, Chiron, to have all those planets retrograde at the same time is very indicative of the universe wanting us to have a reckoning and go back and fix things and heal things and understand things. So here's what you have to ask yourself. And you can always play this back at like the 40 minutes into the show. What truths have been buried? What truths have been buried? And they might be good truths. They might be truths that you really need to accept and understand. What memories are surfacing? Even though they may seem random and unrelated, they are related when you go underneath and look at the underlying feelings that you have. Different circumstances give us the same emotions. What is the emotion? Is it jealousy? Is it powerlessness? Is it humiliation? Is it suppression, repression? And what wounds are you ready to be healed? Because you have the power to heal your wounds. I'm going to finish up with this personal story. And it's in regards to what truth am I ready to face? What memory keeps resurfacing, right? What part of me is asking to be reclaimed? And I'm going to tell a quick story about a few years ago. I guess now it's about 10 years ago. I was in a relationship, and it was a nightmare relationship because the person and I had pathology that was extremely counterproductive, let's say. And I wanted compassion from him. I was going through a very hard time in my life, and I wanted compassion. I guess it was more than 10 years ago, but anyways, time just doesn't matter. I wanted compassion, and he wanted compassion from me, but I wasn't really giving him compassion because I wanted my compassion first. And I would get upset, and he would not respond to that. And I did some work. I had a great person that I was working with at the time mentor to me. And I realized that my whole life, I wanted to pull someone into the closet with me. And what I mean by that was when I was a little girl growing up in a very noisy house with a lot of very violent things going on at times, I used to sit in the closet and pretend I wasn't there. And for most of my adult life, I'd say probably until I was about 40, maybe 45, I was looking for that person to come and sit in the closet with me to make it all better. And then I woke up one day and I realized we're not supposed to drag someone into our closet. We're supposed to come out of our closet and live our life. And once we do that and give ourselves the compassion, then we find the person who can live life with us. Because I was under an illusion that I wanted someone to stroke my wounds and tell me it was going to be okay and be in the closet with me. And when I really faced my reality and faced my truth, I didn't want to live in that closet. I didn't want to live with that painful little girl. I wanted to be the woman I am today and have a partner that shares that life. But for years, I was looking for someone to make it better. Like, you have to come in here and help me kind of thing, like a little girl would do. And that was a really huge truth that I had to face quite a while ago. I reclaimed that part of myself. I don't need anyone to come in the closet with me. That little girl doesn't need anyone to come in the closet with me. Why? Because I am her, and I've always taken care of her. And there's never been anyone in the closet but me, and I've been okay every time. So I didn't need anyone to come in, and I didn't need anyone to make it better. And that was my truth. So ask yourself, what's your truth that you're ready to face? What memories keep resurfacing? What are the emotions tied to that? And what part of you is asking to be reclaimed? And that's the retrograde season we've got ahead. It'll be with us for a while till the end of the year. So let this be your reckoning in a good way. You're remembering your return to your own power. And don't be powerless. Be powerful. I'm here every Monday night at 7 o'clock in the Soul Space podcast. And I will be back here next Monday. So tell your friends, join us. Thanks, everybody. If you need a reading, zenkuda.com. Bye-bye.